Are there LGBTQ books in your local public school library? The answer is probably yes. Probably yes. We found this out here in the little town of Weare, New Hampshire recently. That's where I'm from. You can always come by and toilet paper my house if you really hate what I have to say. Listen, Weare, New Hampshire is a very small, town. It's very conservative, but we have a school board with four to one, I think, out of five on the school board are Democrat, and they are perfectly fine with this. What has been recently come out is that in our middle school, which is what, sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, in our middle school, we have books on display encouraging homosexuality and transgenderism. Like this is, here, I'll show you the picture right here in just a minute. But before we get into that, thanks for joining us today. I'm Pastor Josh Barnes. This is the show where we're unashamed to look at political, social, cultural, and theological issues from a biblical worldview. We do that because Jesus died on the cross and arose from the dead, and he said the Bible is true. That means we can't be right about issues if we disagree with the Bible. Now, you can disagree with that, but you're wrong, right? I mean, you could disagree that Jesus died on the cross and rose from the dead, but that just makes you historically and factually inaccurate, okay? But if you're a Christian, you have to believe that, right? Not believing that makes you not a Christian, okay? So Christian people, and 60% of Democrats say that they're Christian. So I don't know what's going on there. But Christian people are supposed to believe that Jesus died on the cross and actually rose from the dead. If that happened, then everything the Bible says is not only true, it is necessary to agree with the Bible in order for you to be correct. You can't be disagreeing with the Bible and be correct if the Bible is proven by the resurrection of Jesus Christ, right? I mean, here's a guy who predicted his own death and resurrection, and then he rose from the dead. Okay, I mean, obviously what he said it matters and has some bearing. And then also we have to add to that the fact that it doesn't really matter if people say, well, that's just your religion. Well, maybe it is my religion because I like to believe true things. Okay, but that doesn't make it false just because it's my religion. It doesn't mean that I should treat it as if it is false because it's my religion. Oh, it's just your religion, so you should act like it's false to everyone else. No, because you don't get to just whatever you believe becomes true for you, and whatever you don't believe is not true for you. That's not the reality that we live in. That there's no reality where that could possibly be the case. What you believe does not change what is true. What is true should change what you believe. And so if Christianity is true, and we've talked about this on a lot of episodes where we talk about all the evidence for Christianity. We're not going to go into that today. But if Christianity is true, then we should act like it's true. Christian people should go out and act like it's true. For some reason, the world is trying to tell us that we should pretend like it's not true and just kind of believe it inside and not pretend like it's actually true in reality. So there's that. But anyway, what we're doing is we're unashamed of the fact that we're going to look at all of these issues, political, social, cultural, theological, all from a biblical worldview. And that's because we want to be right. And we're wrong if we disagree with the Bible. So that's pretty basic. I enjoy being correct. I'm not always correct, but where I agree with the Bible, I certainly am. So there's that. Here's what's actually going on in school. Here's the actual 4 books that were on display that kind of started this whole thing. You can see over there on the left, the book is called Heartstopper, Boy Meets Boy. The book in the middle there is Zenobia, Zen being a gender term that people have sort of made up. Instead of they, them, they have Zen and Z and whatever. So Zenobia is talking about transgenderism. You can actually go look these up on Amazon. You can see the description of these books. Ivy Aberdeen's Letter to the World and Star-Crossed are both books about 2 young girls, underage girls who fall in love with each other, or are trying to figure out why they enjoy each other's company so much, so they decide that they're attracted to one another, and that they must be lesbian. So that's the thing, So here's a few basic principles before we kind of dive in, because we're going to dive pretty deep on this. And this was posted on the Weare, New Hampshire Facebook page, and I made a comment on it. Here's the comment. Anyone defending this ought to be ashamed of themselves. Sexual fetishes and preferences are adult issues. Encouraging children to choose what kind of person they want to have sex with when they're 12 is abusive. There's no other way to put it. Some of these books even encourage the anti-science transgender lifestyle, which teaches children that biological reality doesn't exist, and they'll never be happy unless they mutilate and castrate their bodies. This is disgusting and shameful, and every sane person in this town should be appalled by it. Call me whatever phobe you want to call me. If you support this abuse of children, then I'm really not interested in your opinion of me. And then I said, thank you for sharing this. Yeah, I mean, that pretty well sums it up. Look at these books. Let me pull these books up again. And by the way, also, this is not just the display that was put up. This is in the public school library there in our local middle school. If it's happening in Weare, New Hampshire, guys, it's happening wherever you are, right? I mean, we don't have, the point of view kind of goes, all over the country. Even some people from outside of the country, we even get comments from those. There's goes on Right America Media, FISM TV, YouTube, K-Star Conservative Radio Network. It's up all over the place. YouTube kind of, shadow bans it a little bit, so it doesn't get a lot of traction on YouTube. But the point is, this is all going out there. I don't know where you are specifically. It's a good chance you aren't here in Weare, New Hampshire. But if it's happening here, is a really, really good chance it's happening in your town. And you don't even know it. And here's what let's just break it down. This is sexual fetish and preference being pushed on children. Children here are being encouraged to consider, to identify themselves by a sexual fetish. And I'll justify that claim. All right. What is coming out as homosexual is what these books are all about. Just coming out and being your true self. Coming out as homosexual to a 6th, 7th, and 8th grader. To a 6th, 7th, and 8th grader. We're going to encourage them to come out as homosexual. What is coming out as homosexual? When you come out as homosexual, what you're doing is you are announcing to the world that your identity is wrapped up in your sexual fetish. You are claiming that you have a sexual fetish. Now, that's what that is. Now, for some reason, people think the word fetish is a bad word. It can be, I suppose. The actual definition of fetish is a form of sexual desire in which gratification is strongly linked to a particular object or activity or a part of the body or other sexual organs. So that's what a sexual fetish is. What a particular activity, your sexual desire is directly linked, strongly linked to a particular activity. Not to just, you're not just attracted in general to sexuality, sexual things. You're very particular, right? That's your particular way of gratification. That's what homosexuality is, right? I mean, there's no doubt about that, right? It's a fetish. I want this. This is the only way that I can find pleasure. Okay, that's not wrong necessarily. The fact that it's a fetish, but that's what it is. And what you're doing when you announce yourself as homosexual is you're saying, now my entire identity is wrapped up in the fact that this is what I prefer in bed. That's a weird thing to be to say is your whole identity, what I like in bed. Like you're gonna define your entire self based on what you like in bed. That's weird. I don't want you, if your whole character, if your whole person is defined by what you like in bed, I really don't want you teaching my kids. I really don't want you writing books that my kids are reading. I don't really care what the thing is that you define yourself by. If your whole identity is wrapped up in this, in the thing you like in bed, I don't want you anywhere near my kids. That's your whole message. Like that's your whole thing. That's your whole identity. I am homosexual. That's your thing. It doesn't even matter. If you're like I am heterosexual and my whole identity is wrapped up in the fact that I enjoy I have a foot fetish or what, I don't care. I don't really care what it is. If you wrap your whole identity up in sexual things, I don't want you talking to my kids. I don't want you writing books that my kids are reading. I don't want that. No, I do not. Why would I want that? That's ridiculous. And certainly, I don't want anything like that being discussed in a middle school. I mean, come on. That's already defining yourself by let's just remove the sin part of it out. Let's remove all the other stuff out of it because, as Christians, we're right. The truth is that the God of all the creation actually did say this is wrong, okay? So, oh no, that's just your religion. Yeah, but my religion is true. And stop trying to ask me to act like it's not true just because you don't believe it. You believe false things. I believe true things. Stop trying to get me to act like they're not true. Okay? They're true. Deal with it. But even that aside, just someone who wants to identify themselves by what they want in bed is a disgusting individual, and I don't want them around my kids, and I certainly don't want them. I don't care what the thing in bed is. I don't really care. I don't want them around my kids, and I don't want them writing books that my kids are reading. No, because that's how they define themselves. And not only is that what's taking place, are they writing books that our kids are reading, but they're writing books encouraging our kids to do the same thing, to define their entire identity based on what they want in bed, even though the kids don't even understand the concept of sexuality yet. This is wrong. It has to be right. Nothing is wrong if encouraging children to make choices about their sexual identity before they understand sex is not wrong. There is no such thing as wrong. There is no such thing as wrong. If that's not wrong, that is wrong. It's wrong. And then add to that the transgender thing, which not only encourages them to wrap up their whole identity on a what they prefer in bed before are able to even comprehend of this stuff. Oh, because I enjoy hanging out with girls. You're a girl. You should enjoy hanging out with girls. You should love them. Well, but I kind of feel really good when they're around. Okay. Do you want to have sex with them? That's what these books are trying to say. They're trying to say, well, then obviously you must want to have sex with them, and so you should call yourself a lesbian. Let's just be honest. This is what these books are saying. Now, I don't like to talk like this. This sounds crude and everything. But when we don't admit what's going on, what we're doing is destroying our children, because there are people out there who are seeking to destroy them, and us backing down and being like, oh, I don't want to talk about that subject, is the reason they're able to get away with it. So what are we going to do about it is the question. Are we just going to let this go? Or are we going to say, I'm not standing for that. This is wrong. This is absolutely wrong in every way of the word. And not only that, there's the transgender problem too. Because not only are they encouraged to think about sexuality and sexual attraction before they're even able to understand that, and define themselves by a particular sexual attraction before they're even able to understand what it is that's about. And not only that, but now they're encouraged in these same books. Zen and the Art of Faking It is one of the books. Here it is, right there. Zen and the Art of Faking It. Zenobia, July. You see, these books go even further and say, okay, also, some of you kids feel like are boys, but you really feel like girls. And so you should start acting like girls. You should dress like girls. Everyone else should treat you like a girl. this is not just encouraging sexual fetish. This is encouraging mental delusion and the opposite of truth. Mental delusion that, by the way, leads to mutilating your own body, cutting off body parts in an attempt to try to change yourself to look the way that you sort of feel like you should look. Instead of loving yourself for who you are, which I thought was like the liberal mantra, right? Love yourself for who you are. And now it's, oh no, if you feel like a girl, chop off body parts until you're satisfied with the way that you look. Instead of saying, hey, why don't you just love yourself the way that you are? Why don't you just accept who you are and love that it's special and unique and wonderful, instead of trying to change it into something that you wish it would be? This is terrible. This is terrible. The whole idea of grooming children is exactly what this is. These are adult people who wrote these books. Adult people who have defined their entire identity based on their sexual preference in bed. And they have, in some cases, these authors have actually denied biological reality and are expecting people to call them female when they are male, and have mutilated their own body. And now they're trying to convince our kids to do the same thing so that they feel better about the terrible choices they've made in their lives. This is wrong. And it's coming to a school near you if it's not there already. I'm pretty sure it's probably there already. Okay, so here's what I put. Anyone defending this ought to be ashamed of themselves. Sexual fetishes and preferences are adult issues. Encouraging children to choose what kind of person they want to have sex with when they're 12 is abusive. There's no other way to put it. Some of these books even encourage the anti-science transgender lifestyle, which teaches children that biological reality doesn't exist, and they'll never be happy unless they mutilate and castrate their bodies. This is disgusting and shameful. Every sane person in this town should be appalled by it. Call me whatever phobe you want to call me. If you support the abuse of children, then I'm not interested in your opinion. Okay, so I'm going to read you a couple comments from people who support this abuse of children. Now, I would like to think there's only two options for these individuals. They're either terrible, evil individuals who want to abuse children, or they're foolish, deceived, simple individuals who actually think that people who define themselves by their sexual preference in bed, writing books to our children about also defining themselves by sexual preferences, is somehow not abusive to children. That's just stupid. Let me just be very frank. That's stupid. So I'm going to hope that these people are stupid people, because the alternative is they are willfully trying to harm children. And I would like to not think that about them. Okay, so this is my positive outlook, is that they're just dumb. Melissa says, I'm not going to give the whole name. Melissa says, nothing about these books are sexual fetishes. Calm down. What is a sexual fetish? It is what you prefer in the bedroom. It is the thing that you strongly need to be turned on, if you will, in the bedroom. Okay? That's exactly what homosexuals say is the case about them. Okay? Well, that could apply to heterosexual. Yeah, I don't want that discussed in the classroom either. Okay? Nothing about these books are sexual fetishes. Calm down. Homosexuality is a sexual fetish, I responded. Don't be ridiculous. Melissa Powell, no, it's not. Stop spreading your misguided misinformation. Go look it up in a dictionary. Okay? Nicole says, why are you the way that you are? Oh, I'm glad you asked that, Nicole. I am the way that I am because God saved me from a life of sin. I repented, trusted in him, and now I'm not interested in abusing children. I actually don't want children abused. And that is really concerning, that my desire to not abuse children is a problem for you. Just because you choose to fetishize homosexuality doesn't make it actually a sexual fetish. Go look it up. I responded, fetish, a need or desire for an object, body, or body part, or activity for sexual excitement. The Britannica Dictionary. Got that online. First thing that popped up on Google when I looked up definition of sexual fetish. You're wrong, I said. Reality is still reality, no matter how much it makes you feel bad. Now stop pushing this on children. Nicole responds, stop preaching your hate. Do I hate people who are abusing children? Yes, absolutely I do. Will I preach about how we should hate child abusers? Absolutely I will. But this isn't really preaching. This is just common sense. I mean, this is just, listen, don't do that. Okay? Rhiannon says, so just to be clear, you are saying that you view homosexuality as desirable, exciting sexual activity, and this is why you consider it to be a fetish. No, you didn't read my comment, and you obviously don't have any idea how to like read a dictionary at all, because that's not what I said. Rion goes on in another comment to say, and if this is how you choose to interpret that definition, then can you please explain how all sexual activity, homosexual, heterosexual, or otherwise, does not fall under your category of being a fetish? It does. It absolutely does. And people who define their entire being based on their sexual preference, whether it's homosexual or heterosexual, but their entire being is wrapped up in in their sexuality. I don't want them writing books to my children. I don't want them even around my children. They're not their role models. They are not to have any contact with my kids at all. If that's their message, if that's what they define their existence by, is their sexual desire, I want nothing to do with that in my home and around my children, period. That's when a book says it is an LGBT book. What it's saying is it's written by people who identify themselves by what they desire in bed. It doesn't matter what they desire in bed then. I don't want my kids reading it. Because they're going to try to convince my kids to define themselves by a desire in bed that they don't even understand. Let alone the fact that people who identify themselves by what they desire in bed are creepy individuals and should not be allowed to be around children. That's not okay. So anyway, big yikes for anyone involved with you. If you, by your own standards, it sounds like the only way to be free from this fetish lifestyle. I didn't say that a fetish. Someone has an idea that the word fetish is somehow wrong. Like everything that could be classified as a fetish is sinful, right? No. Fetish is a preference in bed. Okay? I don't want people who define themselves by their preference in bed to be writing books to my children and their books be on display at school. Let alone if those books are all about their sexual preference in bed. I don't care what they're doing in bed. Now, what they're doing in bed is wrong. We know that because the creator of the universe said so. So that's true, whether you like it or not. Now, you don't like it, which is why you don't believe it. It's not, you don't disbelieve that because you like it, you wish that was true, but it's just not true. We have no proof of the God of the Bible. We do. We have lots of proof of the God of the Bible. I mean, we have so much proof. I mean, you walk outside and you see the world. Life didn't evolve from non-life. That is actually a scientific impossibility. Yet that's what people say in order to get around the idea that there's actually a God that they have to answer to. We know for the fact that the Bible, hundreds of years before cities collapsed, predicted exactly how they would collapse. The Bible has tons of fulfilled prophecy. And no, it's not like Nostradamus, who is just randomly saying things that just happen to look somewhat similar to things that came true. The Bible has very accurate, provable prophecy with dates attached to them when they were going to happen. I'm telling you that the truth of the Bible is well proven. There is no historical explanation for the facts about the death and resurrection of Jesus, except for the fact that he actually rose. Historians all agree that Jesus was a real person, that he really lived, that he really died by crucifixion at the hands of the Romans, that his tomb was really found empty because there were people claiming that it was empty, and the people who hated those Christians who were claiming that it was empty could not produce a body. Therefore, it's proof. Historians have zero doubt. There's almost no doubt among historians, atheist historians, that his tomb was really found empty and that his disciples as a group all saw what they thought to be Jesus. And they can't explain this. They've come up with theories. Well, maybe they're all hallucinating. That doesn't work. There's no question that Jesus rose from the dead. We have eyewitness testimony of 500 people who saw him all at one time after he died. Eyewitness testimony, and people at that time were putting these people to death because they wouldn't change their eyewitness testimony. They believed it that strongly. I'm telling you that the Bible is true. So the ultimate reason that we reject this is because God said so. But if that's not good enough for you, then how about somebody who defines themselves based on what they want in the bedroom, writing a book to your kids about what they want in the bedroom, and it being on display in middle school? Are we okay with this? We've got to ask ourselves that question. Is this really the type of thing that we think is just cool? It's creating a safe space for kids who want that kind of thing in the bedroom. If 12-year-old kids are already defining themselves as lesbian or gay, they did so because they were influenced by evil, perverted people who wanted them to think about sexuality long before they needed to. And that is already abuse. Those children have been abused, and you are encouraging that abuse by letting them choose the books that are in this public school library. Those kids need help. Now, if you are homosexual and you are offended by this, I've not said that homosexuality is wrong based on my standards. My standards, I've just reasoned that someone who identifies themselves based on their sexuality should not be writing books to my kids about identifying themselves based on their sexuality. Okay? But I have said that it's wrong based on the standards of God in the Bible. And if you have a problem with that, you can take that up with him. And you will take it up with him one day if you don't repent before then. Okay, so that's between you and God, and you're going to have to answer for it. And I wish you would repent before it's too late. But in the meantime, don't push this on my kids. Don't push it on my kids. Stop doing that. That's not okay. And I don't really care what kind of sexual fetish you have. I really don't care what it is. Don't push it on my kids. Don't do that. I think that's all I have to say. We'll have to, we're actually a minute early on this episode. Go check out some of our other videos on YouTube where we actually talk about what the Bible actually says about homosexuality. We dive deep into that. We dive deep into the evidence for the resurrection. We dive deep into the evidence for the Bible. We've gotten into all of those things. We are going to be putting out more and more videos about those subjects. But in the meantime, don't let evil, wicked people push you around. Either the people who promote this stuff are either evil and wicked and want to convince children to be sexual in middle school, or they are just naive and foolish individuals who should not be running policy anywhere and need to wake up to the truth. We'll see you next time right here on Point of View.